Relations between the United States and the European Union are the bilateral relations between the country and supranational organization. The US and EU have been interacting for more than 60 years. US-EU relations officially started in 1953 when US ambassadors visited the European coal and steel community. The two parties share a good relationship which is strengthened by cooperation on trade, military defense and shared values. They dominate global trade. They play the leading roles in international political relations. And what one says matters a great deal to much of the rest of the world. Both the US and the majority of EU member states are members of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And yet they have regularly disagreed with each other on a wide range of specific issues, as well as having often quite different political, economic, and social agendas. Since the EU does not have a fully integrated foreign policy, relations can be more complicated when the member states do not have a common agreed position. As EU foreign policy was divided during the Iraq War, understanding the relationship today means reviewing developments that predate the creation of the European Economic Community. On December 2, 2020, following the 2020 US presidential election, a joint communication published by the European Commission lined up a proposal for a new agenda of improvement of the EU-US relations with the incoming Biden administration, seeking for partnership in 4 major policy areas: health response, climate change, trade and tech, and security. On March 5, 2021, following a call between EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and US President Joe Biden, the EU and the US agreed to suspend all the retaliatory tariffs linked to the Airbus and Boeing disputes for a 4-month period. $billion and world percent and rank 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 Euro-American relations are primarily concerned with trade policy. The EU is a near fully unified trade bloc, and this, together with competition policy, are the primary matters of substance currently between the EU and the US. The two together represent 60% of global GDP, 33% of world trade in goods and 42% of world trade in services. The growth of the EU's economic power has led to a number of trade conflicts between the two powers. Although both are dependent upon the other's economic market and disputes affect only 2% of trade. See below for details of trade flows. In 2007, a Transatlantic Economic Council was established to direct economic cooperation between the two. It is headed by the U.S. Deputy National Security Advisor for International Economic Affairs and the EU's Commissioner for Trade. However, it is yet to produce solid results. A transatlantic free trade area had been proposed in the 1990s and later in 2006 by German Chancellor Angela Merkel in reaction to the collapse of the Doha round of trade talks. However, protectionism on both sides may be a barrier to any future agreement. Recent developments have seen the proposal of a new agreement called the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership between the US and the EU. This agreement has the aim of fostering economic growth through bilateral trade and investments. In August 2019, Trump announced an accord to increase beef exports to the European Union. The U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer signed agreement with Yanni Rapana, representing EU presidency, and Ambassador Stavros Lambrinidis of the EU delegation. EU is one of the main trade partners of the U.S. In 2016, European Union is 18.7% of U.S. merchandise exports and 18.9% of U.S. merchandise imports. In 2016, European Union is 30.9% of U.S. commercial services exports and 35.3% of U.S. commercial services imports. The U.S. is one of the main trade partner of the EU. In 2016, the U.S. is 20.1% of European Union merchandise exports and 14.2% of European Union merchandise imports. In 2016, the U.S. is 27.2% of European Union commercial services exports and 30.5% of European Union commercial services imports. In August 2020, the EU and US agreed, for the first time in 2 decades, to reduce certain tariffs. The US and EU cooperate on the topic of energy and sustainability. The general aim of both parties is to liberalize and enhance sustainability in the global energy markets. This cooperation officially started in 2009 when the EU-US Energy Council was founded. This institution regularly meets and addresses topics such as energy security challenges, climate change, renewable energy, nuclear safety and research. In February 2021, President of the European Commission Ursula von der Leyen stated that the European Union and United States should join forces in combating climate change and agreeing on a new framework for the digital market to limit the power of large tech companies. Both the EU and US have set goals by 2050 to cut its net greenhouse gas emissions and to become a net zero